Hello and welcome to your next tutorial in Visual Basic, and today we're going to be starting a bit of a mini-series on GUI, which stands for the Graphical User Interface. So in Visual Basic and as well in my C# playlist, we've been working with Windows Form applications, as opposed to boring console applications that you run on a command line like with C++. I mean, in a college course, that's what they usually do, but anyway, so in this this video and the next video or two, I might be able to do this in just 2 videos, is go through as much as I know. As I told you at the beginning, we did some of this stuff earlier, the print dialogue. So I won't even do this because that's in my the main part of Visual Basic Level 1, and some of these as well. So these are already covered, so that's good. And we did the timer already. And I really don't know how to do almost any of this, but and I don't know any of this either. But this will be its own video, menus, and so I'm going to start with the containers and then go through as many of these as I can, at least the ones I know. I know like almost all of these. Okay, so let's start with the group box. So I'm just going to start with a basic standard group box. All of these pretty much work the same way. You can just read the descriptions and it's pretty obvious how they work. So I'll just click the group box, and I can't even see my Windows form. There we go. I'll widen it a bit. And I move my group box here. Oops. And then you can just click and drag, resize it as you wish. I'll just resize it like this because I know what I'm going to be using it for later. And we don't need to change the name, really. You can change the background color of it if you want. That would look kind of weird, though. And I'll just call it radio button group, because I'm going to be using radio buttons with this thing. And yeah, that's really it. There's a very faint border too. I don't know if you can tell, but it's there. Now I'm going to create a button, and this button is going to be pretty much what I use with testing everything that I'll be showing you. So if you put anything on top of this thing, or all the elements that you have inside of this group box, if you copy this group box and paste it somewhere else, that element will the other what do you call them? Controls will copy with it. So just to bear in mind, it's actually really nice. So it can be very convenient. And well, I don't want that button on there, so I want it to be by itself down here. So I'll just call it btn. I don't enter. I'll call it enter. And I should probably tell you now. I mentioned this the very first time I started doing this. But this ampersand that you put in the text, what that does is it adds a little underline there. See that under the enter? And when you press F5 and run this application, you don't see that, but if you hold down the alternate key, it now appears, and while you have it held down, if you press E, nothing happens, but if you hold down the alternate key while pressing the other key that's underlined, like the E, it'll activate that button. So that's what that does. So watch out. Make sure that you don't make multiple buttons with the underlining the same letter. Otherwise, that won't really work out. Okay, so pointer, whatever. So we've done buttons. We know how to do that really, really well. So let's do checkboxes. So how do these work? Basically, checkboxes, they're not really grouped specifically, so you can just put them wherever. I would still keep them wherever you would like. So let's just make 2 and make one checkbox. I'll call it check 1, and I'll call this one check 2. And you can mess with the text, so I'll make that dinner, and I'll make this one breakfast. And in order to check which ones, or to see which one, if you want a certain event to occur when one's clicked, or one is entered, basically you can create an if and then the name of that check. So check 1 is checked, and see if that's true. Then let's have a message box pop up. Whoops. Dot show. It's time for breakfast. So info, okay, and information. There we go. So I click save, and then when I build this guy, nothing happens when you click enter, but if you have breakfast highlighted, it says it's time for breakfast. If you have both highlighted, it'll still work. So you can always make a different kind of if statements. You know how to do that kind of stuff. We've already done the complicated stuff in determining whether or not one's checked or if multiple are checked. But if you only want one specific item checked, that's where radio buttons come in. But I'm not quite there yet. So let's do check list box. So basically here, a check list box is go to items and its properties, and you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or just as many as you want, and it's all these different kind of guys here. And in here, let's make this a comment here so we don't have to worry about this one activating again. So now let's just check that one. So we didn't give a specific name to that one, actually. I'm sorry about that. So let's just call it checklist 1. Very bad name. Checklist 1, and then dot checked items, so you'll type that in, dot contains, and then see what it contains inside. So if I want only the one that says lunch to do something, or if at least the one that says lunch is checked, then I can have a little message box appear here. So time for lunch. Info, okay, click save, run this thing, and if I have dinner, it doesn't work, but if I have the lunch, I'll just uncheck that one. Now it says time for lunch, and there's no sound because I didn't put an icon after the button OK. So in case you're wondering about that one. The next one is a combo box. How these guys work is it's pretty much the same thing, except it's a drop down instead. So you throw in item 1, whoops, item 2, item 3, click OK. You don't see anything, but if you press F5, then you'll see your different items. And how this one can pretty much work out is without a comment, if, and what I call it, so it's just a combo box in general. So combo box 1 dot selected index. So I'm going to use selected index is equal to and then a number. Now remember, selected index or indices start with 0 with combo boxes, just like with list boxes. So we can only in this one check for 0 through 2 because I only put 3 items in. So let's put number 1. So that should be the second item. And I'll just copy and paste this right here. Paste, and then let's run this. So it should say time for lunch only if I have the second one. So that's not the second one, but that's the second one. So that one worked. Let's see here. So combo box, date time picker. I'll be doing dates separately. We've done labels. I don't know if I've done labels. Yeah, I have. Let me delete this. And I'm pretty sure you guys have too. Link labels, let's check this guy out. So how do you work with links? So you can, change the link color, you can change the visited link color, the text that it says. I'll throw in Yahoo, Yahoo, and just a bunch of other stuff that you can just look through this. It's this is it while you're holding it down, I believe. And just click this, and let's type out process.start. And then throw in the URL. So HTTP. Oh wait, no, this is Yahoo I'm talking about. So if I click save, it should open it using your default browser. So mine should no. Okay, so it worked. I don't know why I'm getting an unhandled. Oh, I'm getting an unhandled thing because of because my little update thingamajigger. So let me open Firefox. Yeah, see, I get that stupid update thing. Oh, pardon my language, I'm sorry. So if I already have that open, then I run my application. Then if I click this, see, now I didn't get that error. So So that was just because of the update. That's why I got the error. So don't forget about that. Don't. Yeah. So I'll close that. And what should I do next here? A label, link label, list box. Wait, no, I've done list boxes plenty of times. List view. Displays a collection of items in one of 5 different views. I don't know the purpose of those. I've never used them. Masked text boxes. I guess something special happens if you type something in. I don't know how to use these either. Month calendar. Just like with these, I'll be showing you when I go into a date video. Notify icon. I don't use that. Numeric up and down. Okay, so basically someone can just go up and down from 0 to something else, and we want to check the value. So this is pretty much the default value, I believe it is. If I type in like 50, I think it should, oh yeah, see, the default will become 50. So if I just make this a comment right here, in order to check the value, let's do a range instead this time. So if, I already figured out what it's called, numeric up and down, dot value is greater than, I don't know, let's go 60, and numeric up and down dot value is less than 70, then let's throw this copy, or I already have it pasted, I think. So let's throw in good job. I don't know why. There we go. So I click save, and if I run this, if I click enter, nothing happens. If I go exactly 60, nothing will happen. But if I go between, then I get the good job. And if I go up to 70 exactly, then it doesn't work. But then down to 69, and it does work. So that's good. So what else do we have here? Picture box is the next one. No big deal. You can, just a little picture box. You can throw the image that you would like in there. So if the import, oh, I already imported a picture from when I did my test run. So you just click import, you find the image, and then click OK, and then there it is. And of course it's not big enough, but it'll do. It'll do. So what's next? Picture box. So progress bar, not yet. Radio buttons. Okay. So I'm gonna throw in some radio buttons. Now these are really important because you can only select one at a time for every group that they're in. Now what I mean by that is, make sure these line up. So this is number 1, right? So I'll just call that 1. I'll call this 2. And I'll call this 3. But if I paste one out here, call it radio button 4, then what happens is it becomes its own group. So when I run this, notice I can go between these guys, right? But this one is its own thing. This did not unselect. So just a thing to remember. And just like with the checkboxes, because I'm running out of time and I want to show a little bit more, all you do is type the name that you gave that radio button and see if it's checked. Checked equals true, so you'll be doing it like I have it right up here, exactly the same. And oh yeah, and that's another thing with checked boxes as opposed to radio buttons. You could use the and to see if you have at least 2 specific ones checked or something like that with the check boxes. So that's pretty cool. And what's the last one? So rich text box. All this does is allow you to. I showed this one with the saving and the printing dialogues. You can just type in as much as you want there. And that's a regular text box. We've used those before. So I'll show you a tooltip really quickly. Just click tooltip, press, and then what happens is, just by having that there, if you go to, let's say, this one, the tooltip on tooltip 1 appears right here. This little option for this, no matter what you click, if you have a tooltip little thingamajigger here, this will activate, and you can type in whatever you'd like. So this radio button is lonely. So then, and this is like how long it'll last. If you have this highlighted, it'll show you how long it'll last and whatnot when it's up there. So you run it and you hover. It says this radio button is lonely. And the very last thing I'd like to show you really quickly, need some more space, is the web browser. So this will use Internet Explorer. Unfortunately, it does. And yeah, you can throw out the default URL. So HTTP w Google, and then when you run it, there's Google right here, and you know you can type in like search Yahoo, I don't know, and click Yahoo here, and then yeah, there you go, that's it. So that's a whole bunch of different things. I don't even know what kind of title I'm going to give this video, but I'm almost out of time. So I hope you found this useful for figuring out how to work with graphical user interface, and I'll see you in the next video.